Hello, Oregon! Well, who arranged this day? Every time I come to Oregon, this is what it looks like. As you've heard, I've come to Oregon to talk a little bit about trade, which initially may have had some people thinking, what is Mariota going someplace that we didn't know about? Or so the Trans-Pacific Partnership that we're working on, it's the biggest trade deal that we're working on right now, has to do with the Asia-Pacific region. And it reflects our values in ways that, frankly, some previous trade agreements did not. I want to acknowledge, because this looks like a very well-read and informed crowd, that there have been a bunch of critics about trade deals generally and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And what's interesting is typically they're my friends coming from my party. And they're my fellow travelers on minimum wage and on job training and on clean energy and on every progressive issue. They're right there with me. And then on this one, they're like whooping on me. But I tell you what, I've run my last election. And the only reason I do something is because I think it's good for American workers and the American people and the American economy. I don't have any other rationale for doing what I do than that I think it's the best thing for the American people. And on this issue, on trade, I actually think some of my dearest friends are wrong. They're just wrong. And here's why. First of all, they say that this trade agreement will cost American jobs, and they're really basing this on some past experience, looking at what happened in the 90s, over the last 20 years, as there was a lot of outsourcing going on. And you know what? Past trade agreements, it's true, didn't always reflect our values or didn't always do enough to protect American workers. But that's why we're designing a different kind of trade deal. And the truth is that companies that only care about low wages, they've already moved. They don't need new trade deals to move. They've already outsourced. They've already located in search of low wages. What this trade agreement would do is open the doors to the higher skill, higher wage jobs of the future, jobs that we excel at. It would make sure our manufacturers who are operating at the higher end of the value chain are able to access these growing markets. And the fact is, over the past few years, our manufacturers have been steadily creating jobs for the first time since the 1990s, under my administration. After more than a decade away from the top spot, business leaders around the world have declared the United States is the world's #1 place to invest for a third year in a row. Third year in a row. So the point is, outsourcing is already giving way to insourcing. Companies are starting to move back here to do more advanced manufacturing, and this is a trend we expect to continue. This trade deal would help that. Just this morning, as Mark may have mentioned, Nike announced that with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, it'll make new investments in advanced manufacturing, not overseas, but right here in the United States. And far more Nike products would be made in the USA. And that means thousands of new jobs in manufacturing and engineering and design at Nike facilities across the country, and potentially tens of thousands of new jobs along Nike's supply chain here at home. That's what trade can do. Look, I've spent 6.5 years trying to rescue this economy. 6.5 years of trying to revitalize American manufacturing, including rescuing an American auto industry that was on its back and is now fully recovered. So I would not risk any of that if I thought the trade deals were going to undermine it. The reason I'm for this is because I think it will enhance it and advance it. So that's point number one. Point number two, when you ask folks specifically, what do you oppose about this trade deal? They just say NAFTA. NAFTA was passed 20 years ago. That was a different agreement. And in fact, this agreement fixes some of what was wrong with NAFTA by making labor and environmental provisions actually enforceable. I was just getting out of law school when NAFTA got passed. Number three, you got some critics saying that any deal would be rushed through. It's a secret deal. People don't know what's in it. This is not true. Any agreement that we finalize with the other 11 countries will have to be posted online for at least 60 days before I even sign it. Then it would go to Congress, and you know they're not going to do anything fast. So there will be months of review. Every T crossed, every I dotted, everybody's going to be able to see exactly what's in it. There's nothing fast track about this. This is a very deliberate track, which will be fully subject to scrutiny. And I'm confident when people read the agreement for themselves, they'll see that this is the most progressive trade deal in history. Number four, critics warn that parts of this deal would undermine American regulation, food safety, worker safety, even financial regulations. They're making this stuff up. This is just not true. No trade agreement's going to force us to change our laws. This agreement would make sure our companies aren't discriminated against in other countries. We already treat companies from other countries fairly here, but our companies don't always get treated fairly there. So sometimes they need to have some way to settle disputes where it's not subject to the whims of some government bureaucrat in that country. That's important. We want our businesses to succeed in selling over there because that's how our workers will get more jobs here in the United States. And then finally, some critics talk about currency manipulation. Now, this has been a problem in the past. Some countries, they try to lower their currency so that it makes their goods cheaper, makes ours more expensive. There was a time when China was pretty egregious about this. When I came into office, I started pounding on them. Every time I meet with them, I'd be talking about currency. And we pushed back hard, and China moved. In real terms, their currency has appreciated about 30% since I came into office, and we're going to keep on going after it. But that's not an argument against this trade agreement. If we give up the chance to help our businesses sell their stuff in the world's fastest growing markets, that doesn't do anything to stop currency manipulation. So the fact is, some folks are just opposed to trade deals out of principle, a reflexive principle. And what I tell them is, you know what? If you are opposed to these smart, progressive trade deals, then that means you must be satisfied with the status quo. And the status quo hasn't been working for our workers. It hasn't been working for our businesses. So listen, I know a lot of folks are skeptical about trade. Past trade deals didn't always live up to the hype. Labor and environmental protections weren't always strong enough. I saw for years in Chicago and towns across Illinois, manufacturing collapsing, jobs drying up. Outsourcing is real. Folks didn't just make that up. Some of our manufacturing base shifted over the last 25 years, and it wasn't good for manufacturing, and it wasn't good for those communities, and it wasn't good for workers. That's the truth. It had benefits. Other jobs were created. We got cheaper goods, but there was real displacement and real pain. And so for many Americans, this is not an abstraction. This is real. But we've got to learn the right lessons from that. The lesson is not that we pull up the drawbridge and build a moat around ourselves. The lesson is that we've got to make sure that the trade deals that we do shape are ones that allow us to compete fairly. I ran for office to expand opportunity for everybody. The all-American idea that no matter who you are or where you come from or how you started out or who you love, in America you can make it if you try. So, yes, we should be mindful of the past, but we can't ignore the realities of the new economy. We can't stand on the beaches and stop the global economy at our shores. We've got to harness it on our terms. This century is built for us. It's about innovation. It's about dynamism and flexibility and entrepreneurship and information and knowledge and science and research. That's us. So we can't be afraid of it. We got to seize it. We got to give every single American who wakes up, sends their kids to school, rolls up their sleeves, punches in every day, the chance to do what they do best. Dream up, innovate, build, sell the best products and ideas in the world to every corner of the world. Because Nike, we do not just have the best athletes in the world. We also have the best workers in the world. We also have the best businesses in the world. And when the playing field is level, nobody beats the United States of America. Nobody beats the United States of America. Just do it, everybody. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you, Oregon. Thank you. God bless America.